Now and then I get these musical musings in my head, and I'm thinking about a 1989 song by Paul McCartney called My Brave Face. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Michael Douglas. Welcome to this edition of Dr. Pundit, where we talk about music, not medicine. And this is the first of many musical musings I think you'll see here on the channel, where I think about a song and what I know about the song or an album or some piece of musical work and how that relates to the artist's overall body of work or aesthetic. And on this edition of Dr. Pundit, I'll be talking about a 1989 single, which is not particularly memorable, but one that is just memorable enough to become a significant aspect in Paul McCartney's career. And that song is My Brave Face. And this has to do more with the songwriting aspect of the track. Now, Paul McCartney didn't choose songwriting partners lightly, especially considering his first one was John Lennon. Luckily, he chose wisely with Elvis Costello, and the pair cranked out several memorable tracks for albums from both guys. McCartney's My Brave Face offered a bracing of the blast of Beatles nostalgia on the 1989 classic album Flowers in the Dirt. And that album came out in the summer of 1989. And what was the song about? How did McCartney and Costello team up to write it? And how did Costello convince McCartney to embrace some of the elements of the song that were very reminiscent of the Beatles? So let's talk about all the nooks and crannies of the track My Brave Face. Now, Elvis Costello wore his Beatles fandom on his sleeve, and when he was just a boy, he was a member of the official Fab Four fan club in his local area. Their music filtered down to his own, especially on Imperial Bedroom, his 1982 album with the attractions that borrowed some of the Baroque tendencies of the Beatles' best work. And it wasn't much of a surprise then that Costello jumped at the chance when Paul McCartney suggested they write some songs together. They began working on some songs that each had started on their own, but they also did some straight co-writes, including 1989's My Brave Face. Now, on this song, the pair went unabashedly into Beatles territory in terms of the melody and the instrumental. And in fact, McCartney was encouraged by Costello to play his Hofner bass, something that he hadn't done much of on albums around that time, to give his work more of a Beatlesque kind of sound. Now, in fact, when the pair were initially writing the song, McCartney hesitated at some of the resemblances. As Costello explained in an interview, I started writing the bridge of My Brave Face, that beatly descending, ever since you've been away, we were doing a vocal rehearsal in the kitchen, and he sang the line, take me to that place. I hit the low harmony on place, and he went, oh, no, this is going to be too much. That's exactly like there's a place or I'll get you. Nonetheless, Costello prevailed upon Paul McCartney to go with it, and the end result is a song that does indeed sound like it would have been right at home on the 60s album Rubber Soul. It even starts with the refrain a la Beatles tracks, Can't Buy Me Love. Check it out. Now, just as McCartney and Costello collaborated on the track Veronica, that gave Costello a hit upon release a few months earlier in 1988. My Brave Face hit the top 25 for McCartney in the summer of 1989 when he released it as a first single from Flowers in the Dirt. So what is the true meaning behind My Brave Face? Well, the song tells a story of a newly minted bachelor trying to make sense of his single life and stave off the sorrow over missing his ex. And McCartney and Costello do a great job of melting out the details at the right pace, so this guy's courageous facade slowly kind of fades away until we figure out and hear how much of a wreck it is. He starts off positively enough. I've been living in style. He's chipper about his current prospects. I've been hitting the town and it didn't hit back. After sounding happy about the fact that he no longer has to answer to anyone, some chinks in the armor start to appear, and he admits in the first pre-chorus that he wants to go bury my head in your pillow. And by the final verse, I've been living in style turns into I've been living a lie. And that's when we find out the depths to which he has sunk, how he's been throwing away dirty dishes and setting the dinner table for two, and all he wants to do is see something other than his own miserable visage futilely trying to look strong. Take me to that place where I can't find my brave face. Speaking of bravery, Paul McCartney showed some bravery by waking up the echoes of his Beatles past, and he did it really well on this song. And of course, that quality has stood up well, and the comparison just shows what a great job he and Costello did on the track My Brave Face. And again, you can stream this song on the 1989 album, Flowers in the Dirt. It was a top 40 hit, didn't hit the top 10, but I think it was a great way of rounding out the decade of the 80s. And again, I like the song, and I've always thought that the collaboration between the two is something magical. And I hope you do too. I'm Michael Douglas, and if you like what you see here on Dr. Pundit, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. And as the late, great Barry White always used to say, let the music play. And I'll see you on the next video.